Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 135 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Madison Parham. She runs Division One track and field at Towson University. Madison, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I enjoying a little break. I mentioned on the pod before I work at a high school, so I got the little like kind of school break with Christmas and New Year's, and it's coming to an end. But I've been enjoying a little bit of a kind of a reset and get ready for things to kind of get busy again. But definitely nice to have a little bit of a break.
Yes, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, you're still on break from classes, I'm guessing, or did you guys go back or?
Yes, I actually go back on campus on Monday for practice, but I don't start spring semester until January 22nd, I believe.
Wow.
So, yeah, good break.
When did your break start?
My last final was on December 14th. So I've been
Wow.
on break since December 14th.
That's definitely a nice break, nice reset.
Yes, I'm so happy.
Have you been training that whole time?
Yes. So actually it has been like really hard because we're on break and a lot of my teammates are from out of state. But during that time we did have open weight room, so I did go to the weight room and I have been training with my friends who came back home who go to other schools. I've been running outside a bit. It's been a little bit cold, but I've been running outside. So I am ready to go
Yeah.
back and get back into running.
Yeah, get back into the groove of things, getting ready for. Are you guys in the middle of indoor season currently?
Yes, we actually just started. We had one meet in December, but it was just like a get back into the groove meet. And but when we go back in January, that's when everything will start like flowing.
Yeah. What do you like better, indoor or outdoor season?
I love outdoor.
Yeah.
Indoor, I try to like it. It's just I can't. It's no, I can't.
Yeah. I don't know many people that like indoor or running indoor meets and yeah, I don't know. For me too, I feel like a lot of places when you're running indoor, sometimes it's like drier. Like I don't know, I know like the air
Yes.
is dry and it's just brutal when you run and then like you're like coughing for the next hour or something.
Yes, I used to get that a lot in high school after I would run. I would get the track cough for like weeks, and I'm like, I can't. The only thing that I really like about indoor is like, say if it's raining or windy outside, I don't have to deal with those conditions.
Yeah.
But other than that, like no.
Well, since we're talking about weather, what do you think the best running weather is? Like, what's your favorite type of weather to run in?
For me, I like okay, so I like when it's cloudy. I do not like when it's too sunny outside because always on the track it's hotter. But I like when it's cloudy and I want to say maybe about like 79, 80, or 75 to 80 degrees. Cloudy, 75 to 80 degrees. I
Okay.
love that type of weather. I don't like when it's cold. I don't like when it's windy. When it's too sunny, that's hot, like when there's no shade on the track. So cloudy weather is the perfect weather for me.
Yeah. Yeah, running in the cold sucks. I mean, like your
Yes.
muscles, it's so hard to like stay. I feel like it's easy. You can stay moving, but if it's cold, I mean, your muscles they kind of tighten up and it's hard to feel good running in the cold. Same thing like too with breathing. I feel like if it's colder, it can screw up your breathing. It's harder, especially if it's really cold. Um, I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Like right now, I think it's 20 degrees out. Um,
Oh,
and you'll see the kids from the local college for the track cross country. They go for their daily runs, and I just that's. That's not for me. 20 degrees, no shirt on, going for a run. No.
Yes, that the cold weather, it's definitely like a killer. And when I was in high school, we didn't have any indoor facilities to practice in. So even it was, I think my coach said, as long as it didn't drop below like 20, I would still be like outside practicing.
Yeah.
So it definitely, the air, it does make it hard for like your breathing, especially if it's windy. And for me, my immune system is not the best. So I get sick really easily. So yeah, I indoor weather, cold, like January through probably early March, not my favorite time.
Not your favorite. I remember one practice in high school. It snowed in like I don't know, April, or it might have been even May. We had this like weird kind of late snow, and I remember we were running on the track, and it was like covered in snow white, and like our team was singing the 12 Days of Christmas because it was just like snowy, crappy weather, and we were trying to make the best of it. But as much as it wasn't the greatest weather, it's kind of a fun memory. I'll always like remember.
Yes. The memory, like that seems like a very fun memory. Like it's, I think that's also like what you have to do like in those type of situations. Just try to make the best out of it and find a positive. So you guys kind of found like singing the 12 days of Christmas was a positive.
Yeah.
So that made it a little better.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I loved about track. Like there's so many chances to make memory. I loved going to track meets, being there for hours. Even when you weren't competing, you were watching your friends compete, and you just kind of got to hang out in the bus trips. And like I don't know, that was one of my favorite parts about track. Like other sports, you show up, you've got your pregame, you play the game, and you leave. But track's this nice long uh, process, and I mean you get plenty of chances to bond with your teammates and make memories and
Yes, I definitely agree. I think that's probably like a lot, my closest friends are from track, and I developed those friendships like on my high school and club team. And I really think it's because like we will always have to sit at like long meets and spend all day together, and it's just like really fun. Like even if you're not doing the best, your friend could be doing 10 times better, so it's nice to cheer them on. And I think also with just being in a space where everyone has to be together, like nobody can just leave and go home. We can kind of feed off each other, like, oh, you just PR'd. Now let me go try and PR. Like I really like enjoy the track community, and I'm definitely gonna miss it once I graduate.
yeah, you got to take in every ounce of it. I think like back to like high school track. I miss it, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And if I could have a redo, um, I had a weird like high school career. I did like I couldn't really find what I wanted to do. So I was in middle school, most middle school kids, I feel like a lot of them, you just kind of do whatever your coaches stick you in and you don't really know what you're doing. And then in high school, I was like, oh, I'm gonna give distance a try, and I did that for a few years, and I really didn't make much progress. I didn't love it. But senior year, I started hurdling, and I loved that. It was so much fun, and I wish if I had a redo that I could go back and I could have just hurdled the whole time. Um, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things you miss when you're out of it, whatever level you're at.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, especially I've been running track since I was 12. So it's just like, oh, like now I have to find a way how to like live without practicing every day. Like, what is life like?
So you gotta start running marathons and Ironmans and all.
Woo! I don't think that that's my time. I mean, actually, so I work at a running store, and the lady actually told me, yeah, like once you graduate, we're gonna start training you for a marathon. So you're the second person to tell me that.
Maybe
So
that
that's
means it's fate.
fine.
It's fate.
I would never see me running a marathon, but if that happens, you spoke into existence.
I couldn't see myself running a marathon either. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time getting myself to run distance anymore. I just not a fan.
Yeah, it's like me even running a mile straight. Oh, that's a killer. So a marathon, oh my gosh. And then like she told me how like they train for it and she was like, yeah, like on Thursdays we just run like 5 miles. I'm like, 5 miles? No, thank you. I'm okay. I'll stick to 400 for hurdles.
Yeah, and that 5 miles, that's like light work for some distance people. They run like, 10 miles a day, and it's just crazy.
That's often then because I really do not think I could ever do that.
Yeah, I mean neither. That's crazy. And that's kind of a good segue into I've said this before on the podcast. I think track is a super underrated sport. It doesn't get enough attention or respect, especially on like the national stage. I mean, the only time people talk about it really is the Olympics. Even NCAA nationals don't get that much media attention, which is a shame because there's some incredible athletes in track. People who are doing decathlons, hurdling college hurdlers. It's so fun to. I don't know how you can't enjoy watching that. The form you have to be so good, and how fast sprinters are and distance and everything. It's such an underrated sport, and I feel like people kind of look at it, they're like, oh, it's just running. Like running is easy, but those are probably people who've never never done track. And the mental side um, is so important. It might even be more important in some ways than the physical aspect of track. Like if you don't have the like mental capacity to go out there and like push yourself and like power through that pain, track's a tough sport to do then.
Yes, I definitely agree. Track is a very, very mental sport. And actually, I always hear like, oh, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. I would say definitely you always just have to be positive, like especially because it is also an individual sport. Like it's you versus everyone else. The way that like you train is really all up to you, and you can't go into a race thinking, oh, like I'm gonna lose or I'm gonna do bad or I don't know what to do, because then that may happen. It's definitely a mental sport, and I learned that. I would say I learned that the hard way when I started track. I started track. I wasn't even supposed to be running track. I ran track because my cousin started running. I was like, "Oh, I want to run with you." And then she left the sport, and I asked my mom if I could leave. She's like, "No, you're not leaving because I already paid the fees." So I'm like, "Okay." So I started to get like good. I would say like within like my first few months, my coach like saw something in me, but the mental side wasn't there. I will always doubt myself, and that is something that I did struggle with in high school, just really doubting my abilities. So I really think like even as much work as you put in, if you still doubt your abilities, that could hold you back a lot. Because I did put in a lot of work, but sometimes it just wouldn't show because mentally I just wasn't strong enough. So now that I'm in college, of course, it's like a bigger ball game, it's a bigger field. Like everyone is just good. So for me, I try to really just to keep myself grounded. For one, I have been really like tapping into my faith, just like praying a lot and just trying to like meditate before races or when I wake up in the morning, try to have like a slow race. I also journal a lot, and just to set my intentions on what I want throughout the day, what I want to accomplish during practice and everything. Also, your support system is really important. I lean on my teammates a lot and my coaches because they're like there to support you for a reason. I think that like they understand what you're going through because we all are in the track world. But essentially, like if you don't overcome the mental state of it, I really think it will be like really hard to be successful. So that's kind of my 2025. One of my goals for 2025 is to just build up my mental so I can be stronger, so I can really like go into my full potential.
Yeah, I mean it's something like that. It's kind of crazy to think about, but like until the last 5, 10 years, it really wasn't talked about, like mental side of sports And I feel like as an athlete, if you had anything that was going on, it was kind of just like, yeah, just deal with it. Like you're an athlete, you need to perform. But like if you've got something going on mentally, it's hard to perform. And if like you said, if you doubt yourself, it's hard, and it's so easy to doubt yourself. If you want a PR and you go out there and you don't PR, then you're kind of like down in the dumps, obviously. You're like, well, I thought I was going to PR today. Like, what's going on? And I mean, I feel like as humans, we dwell on stuff and we beat ourselves up. Like, I mean, like we're always our own worst enemies, right? Like we tear down ourselves, and that makes it so hard. I mean, you could be in the best physical shape in the world, but like if you like you said, if your mind isn't there, it really doesn't matter how strong and how fast you are, you're gonna have a bad day. So yeah, everything you said, I feel like is something that more and more athletes need to do. Find whatever it is, like you mentioned, your faith and journaling, whatever can give you kind of some more mental strength and kind of inner peace, whatever that is. If there's a certain hobby that somebody's got, maybe just take a little extra time in the week, 30 minutes to do something that lets you reset whatever it is. I know a lot of colleges do like mental training now. They have like mental
Oh,
training days with their teams. Do you guys
yes.
do that?
Yes, we do. I think we had one recently before Thanksgiving break, and it was actually really helpful. It allowed us to have like a brain break actually, and we just got to talk and learn each other outside of track, because I think that's one thing as track or like as athletes in general, we put our whole identity around our sport. So it's like when something goes wrong, it's like, who am I? Oh my goodness, like I suck as a person. And it's like, well, no, that's not the case. Like you're more than your sport. You're more than what you have to offer. So that was probably, I think that was our first mental training of the year for our team. And we really liked it. So I'm looking forward to our next one.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a good thing. And like you said, it's I guess I don't know how to say it, but like it's a little bit of it shows that you're not just training for track. Like your coaches understand that there's more than just running and working on your form. Because I'm sure there's colleges out there that aren't doing it. I mean, I feel like a lot of them are now, but there's still probably some that haven't kind of hopped on board that train yet. And I mean, over time here, as things grow with the mental side, more athletes speaking out, more resources becoming available, I'm sure it's just going to become common that everybody does that. Every college has developed some, kind of intertwine that into their training program. They have these mental days. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's so necessary.
Yeah, I think it's just really important, like going back to like what I said, like just to at least do it in college, because I think at one point I did get wrapped up in thinking like track was my whole identity when I didn't perform how I wanted to when I first got into college, or when I was going through all these ups and downs, because my journey on the track has not been easy at all. So I would just lose myself or lose my identity just because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not performing well on the track. I must be this awful person. But I'm like, wait, no. So when I went through those hardships, because my freshman year, I did have to get surgery. So I had to redshirt my indoor season. But that made me find hobbies and just like find myself a little bit outside of track, which also helps with like mentally preparing yourself, because it was like if I didn't like know that, oh, I like to paint or I like to bake, before, like when I'm stressed, I would probably spiral out. But like now when I'm stressed, I do bake a lot and I journal. So that was really helpful to find out.
I think what you're talking about is something that like our society has a problem with, and like that's kind of where it comes from. Like you look at like professional athletes, if they have a bad game or they don't perform well, people like go crazy on social media, and there's like hate messages and all this stuff, and that kind of
Yes.
goes into the like people are just looking at them like that's all they are is their sport. But like no, that they're playing their sport, but they're a whole human being aside of that. There's no reason to treat them like dirt just because they had a bad game. And I feel like that kind of goes in with that, like when you have a bad thing, you feel like you're a bad person, but like it's totally separate. I mean, obviously track is part of you, but it's like you said, it's not all of you. You've got a whole rest of your person and personality, and track just, helps make that up. But yeah, people, I feel like athletes, there's so much pressure put on you. It's like you're your sport and that's all that matters. And it's kind of like a societal issue, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely like really hard, especially like when I see like the hate comments and stuff geared towards college and professional athletes. It's just so inconsiderate because like obviously like if you're doing a bad job, you are obviously going to be hard on yourself. So then it's like, okay, you're hard on yourself and then you go and see other people being 10 times harder on you. It's just like, wow, like it just kind of confirms that thought. So I really just think, well, for one, I am trying to not be as hard on myself and give myself grace as a person. And I think that's something that we all need to do. Just even
Yeah.
throughout life, like just outside of sports, just give ourselves grace because everything's not going to be perfect all the time. And I have to remember like we are all humans. Like this is also everyone's first time living. So it's just like let's
Yeah.
just be nice. Let's just be kind. Like half the time, we mess up. We all don't know what we're doing. Like let's just be kind and uplift each other. And I think that's what we all need, even like in sports, but as a society, like we need to just uplift each other more because everyone is so hard on themselves when things go wrong. It doesn't help to have other people kind of tear you down, even if it's like unintentional, because I know a lot of people resort to like the constructive criticism or like tough love or like stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, it gets to a point. Like you can give your criticism, but like if you see like that I'm already hard on myself, like don't keep pushing in the knife. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I really like about my friends. Like, they acknowledge my feelings. Like, okay, I understand how you feel. Like why you feel how you feel. Or and then they're like, okay, what can we do better the next time? Or if I had a bad race, they may tell me what exactly I did wrong. And this goes like for my coaches as well. Like tell me like what I did wrong. And then I'm like, okay, I can dwell on it. But then they also put a lot of emphasis on not staying there. Like, don't dwell on it like 72 or a week later because it's like that's not going to help you. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I feel like the only way that like there's gonna be change in the way people think and the way people treat it, like is talking about it, right? Like the more athletes that talk about it, then the more eventually it'll start to change, hopefully, and people won't be hard on each other and be more supportive. Like instead of tearing somebody down because they had a bad game, like I mean, like you said, they obviously know they had a bad game. So you're not helping. You're just piling on. Like I mean, like if you're not gonna say like I
Yeah,
mean, it goes back to what we learned in kindergarten, right? If you're not gonna say anything nice, don't say it at all. I mean, the
oh,
golden
right.
rule.
Don't,
I mean, it all roots back to that stuff we learned when we were 5 years old. But for some reason, as adults, sometimes we struggle with it still.
yeah, so that's just something that I just try to remember. Like when I'm talking to my friends, literally see like they're being hard on themselves, even like in practice when I guess they don't think they're doing as well. I have to remind them, like, oh, like, you looked better than you did yesterday, or even though you had a bad practice day, you've been making all like these strides. So it doesn't define you as a person or athlete.
Yeah. And also, a lot of the people who are the ones piling on have no business piling on. They never played a sport, they never like attempted it, right? Like, props for anyone who's out there giving it a shot. People who are like tearing down high school athletes. It's like, what are you doing? Like, give that
Yeah.
kid some props for like giving it a try. There's a lot of kids that have maybe they never played a sport and they just like wanted to join it. I mean, you can't expect them to be great right away. So like instead of tearing them down, give them the props for going out there and like trying it, working hard. And the same thing for college athlete. Like, well, how can any of us really sit on our couch and like yell at the like really like what are we doing? They're out there, we're not. Like
Yeah, I'm like, like while you're at home, I'm actually at the track meet. So please. Spare me, please.
Yeah. Well, hopefully here things I mean there's been good change I feel like with everything in that kind of recognition of the importance of the mental side of sports and I feel like a lot of this other change will slowly keep coming which is good.
Yes, yes, I do agree.
So in a non-track you were a biology major but you're no longer you said your major is public health now?
Yes, I am a public health major.
So what do you want to do with that? Like when you graduate, where does that take you?
Okay, so I've always wanted to work in healthcare. So I decided to do public health so I can explore more just things in healthcare, understand like policies and everything. But actually my plan after college is to go to pharmacy school because I want to be a pharmacist. So it's
Cool.
kind of like oh, like a turn, like, but I really do enjoy public health, and actually, I took a class fall semester. It's called epidemiology, and I actually found out something that I may be interested in. It's like what the CDC does, where they like track diseases and illnesses, and they just like update like I guess whatever state or city it's in, they just update the numbers all the time. So I'm like, wait, that's kind of cool. Like I like that. But yeah, that's my goal after college is to go to pharmacy school to become a pharmacist. But I really do want to stay in healthcare. I am not limiting myself to being a pharmacist. I actually I actually also want to become a labor and delivery nurse or work in labor and delivery. So I'm trying to figure out how I can tie those things together sort of and work into the healthcare realm, but I love public health. Biology, it's a great degree. I really like it, but I learned that well, okay. At first, when I first came into college, I wanted to work in a lab, and that's something that I still am interested in, like research and laboratory sciences. But then I'm like, okay, wait, I actually like interacting with people and being like more hands-on with stuff. And so I was like, okay, maybe I do want to go into like a hospital realm and just like talking to people instead of being behind the scenes. So that's why I switched my major because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do bio and stay in the lab, that is also a lot with track and field. If anyone's listening to this who is a bio major, I'm not telling you you can't do it, but it is very hard. The course load, it was saying how I had to take like organic chemistry and calculus. I was like, oh wait.
No, thank you.
I was like, wait, no. But like one of my teammates, she is a I think forensic chemistry major and she's killing it. So shout out to you because so strong. But I do enjoy public health more. I think it is you get a more broader scope of like healthcare, which is what I've been looking for. So I'm very excited and happy with my degree.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's all that really matters, right? Like, if you're happy. I mean, in college, it's so hard when you're in high school to figure out, like, oh, what do I want to do? So many
Yeah.
people, you start a degree and then you're like, oh, maybe I don't like this. I'm gonna switch to something else. And I mean, if you're not happy, what's the point, right? I mean, for me personally, I went to school for forestry, and now I work at a high school because I wasn't a fan of forestry. Like I was very unhappy. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm much happier now, and that's what counts. So
Yeah, that's what I definitely think. Like a lot of people nowadays, they put emphasis on, oh, you should do this degree because it makes this amount of money, or this degree because it does this for you. But I think you should go for what makes you happy, and the money will come, or like whatever you need, it will come. But I would rather be happy and not have as much money than miserable and have all this money, because I'm like, I have to think like, okay, this is something I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So I'm like, I want to be happy. I was like, okay, if I'm doing biology and just working in a lab all day, I'm not going to be happy. So I was like, all right. And I really think like when you say like you are on a whole different track than what you got your degree in, I think that's very common. It's like you never know what's gonna happen. Like once I graduate, I may be like, oh, I don't even want to use this degree anymore. Then I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna have to find out what else makes me happy. But I think it is really important to just do what makes you happy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's a message more people need to hear. Like you said, like people are always like, you got to do this to make more money. But like you said, if you're miserable, you can have all the money in the world, but like you work most people, you work 5 days a week. So most of your week
Yeah.
you're spent working those days. So if you're miserable for those 5 days a week, then who cares if you have more money? I mean, you're just mentally not going to be there. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's just like I especially because my okay, so for me, I'm very big on I want to be happy, and if I'm spending my time in a like if I'm spending majority of my time in a place, I need to be happy. And that's one of the reasons why I transferred schools is because I was like, okay, if I'm spending most of my time running track and on a team, I want to be happy. So let me do what's best for me. And that's what I did. And I am way happier. So I am proof. Do what makes you happy.
Yes, yes. If anyone gets anything out of this episode, there it is. Do what makes you happy.
Do what makes you happy. Yes.
So now this would make most people really happy, but like let's say somebody was gonna pay for an all paid for trip anywhere in the world, where would you go? Like if somebody just said like I'll pay for you to go anywhere you want for a week, where would you go?
I okay, so I have a whole list of places that I want to go in my phone, but the one place I cannot stop thinking about is London. I really would love to visit London. Ugh. I love their accents. I just love the whole like it's not too hot. Well, when I be watching the TikToks, it doesn't look too hot. But it just looks so fun. Like I actually like if that was a place that I would have to move to outside the United States, that would be one of them.
Yeah, London is cool. I do think it's I went to London when I was in high school and it was
Oh,
it was pretty cool. We got to see like a Broadway production or like I saw Mamma Mia in London, which was pretty
oh,
sweet.
really?
And like Buckingham Palace, it's cool. Like yeah, the accents are great, the food, everything. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, I am so jealous of you. You already went to London.
Yeah. Actually, I liked Ireland more. We went to England,
Really?
Ireland, and Wales, and Ireland was great. And like Dublin, it was like the perfect city to visit because it was big, but it wasn't as big as London, and the music and the food and the stores and like it's really cool. So like what you got to do is you got to go over there. You just got to do like a little circle, do a couple countries and hit them
Ooh,
all up.
I'm gonna have to put that on my list. And because I'm also a big foodie, like traveling and trying different foods makes me so happy. So
Yeah.
when I go, I'm gonna have to. Well, okay. When you went, what was like your favorite dish?
Oh, I don't even, I'm trying I'm trying to think. That was like 8 years ago or something, or maybe not eight. Hold on. My math is terrible. Probably 7 years ago. I don't know. So favorite dish. Well, I mean, like over there, um, I feel like meat and potatoes, like that's like big, like a lot of stuff has like I remember eating at this one restaurant and it was like it looked like a hamburger without a bun, but it tasted like way better than a hamburger would. And then it had like potatoes and vegetables and like some sort of gravy and whatever, and that was really good. I think we had like classic like bangers and mash, like sausage and like potatoes. Um, I remember some weird like I'm not saying weird like a bad thing, but I don't know. I don't even know what it was. It was a casserole. I don't know. I'm having a hard time remembering. We also, strangely enough, I don't know why, but we went to this. There's this huge mall in London. It's like I think one of the biggest malls in the
Oh,
world. We ended up eating at some like Asian restaurant there. And
really?
the food was so good. I remember people like couldn't like other because I was in a travel club with my high school, so there were like friends of mine or other kids in the group that couldn't finish their food, and I remember like taking their chicken and like finishing their chicken because it was so
Let
good.
me finish it for you.
Yeah, you can't let that go to waste now.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go to that mall. I love shopping, so I'm gonna
I
put that
also
on.
tried fish and chips in like an authentic Wales fishing village that was like on the coast. I didn't try it in Ireland, and then when we were in Wales, I was like, I feel like I have to like have some over here because it's like they caught the fish right over there, and
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
pretty
that
good.
sounds good.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fish person, but it was pretty good.
That sounds good. I'm gonna have to give that place a visit.
You're like I gotta you're gonna be booking a plane ticket. You're gonna be heading over there.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, I got a suggestion to come to this spot right here for fish and chips. Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, there's so many places I want to go in Europe too. Like, I mean, I'd love to go to Italy. I want to
Yes.
go to like all the Norwegian country, go to like Norway, go to Sweden, go to Finland, like all that stuff. I feel like I won't have enough time in my life to go everywhere I want.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think probably Italy would probably be like number two because I am a big pasta fan. And I be hearing like the pasta in Italy is just so good. I'm like, I have to go. I have to go. I have to go.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I think Italy, and it looks beautiful. Like it just looks. I mean, the like going to like see the Italian countryside would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the cool thing about Europe too is like you can go to like a couple countries in one trip because they're all so close. You can just like hop on a
Yeah.
train and then you're like in the next place a
And
couple
that
hours
yeah,
later.
that's definitely like really cool. I think because I watch a lot of I'm always on like travel TikTok and I'll see like, oh, like I'm in this country for today, and then they'd be like, oh, I visited this country today. I'm like, how did you get there so fast?
Yeah. I know it feels so weird living in the United States, right? Because it's like you can be in one state, like drive like in Michigan. If I go from upper Michigan all the way down state, I can drive 10 hours, I'm still in Michigan. But if
Yeah,
you're in Europe, you drive 10 hours, you could be in another country.
exactly. I'm like, wow, like it's like I think about especially like in Florida, like if you're at the top of Florida, you drive 10 hours, you're still in Florida. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like
Yeah, yeah, it's totally different. Like the other thing about Europe, like stuff we think is old here in the like United States is not old over in Europe. Like I remember being in Ireland and there were bars that said like established like the 1500s or something or like like they've been around. They're so old. In the United States, we're like, oh, like established in 1950, that must be a good place.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's actually really funny. That's actually
Yeah.
really
So there you go. A few things to add to your travel bucket list.
yes. I will add that right in my notes.
So why don't we end the episode on like music or not music, movies or TV? Like, do you like watching like binging TV or watching movies?
I am a big show person. I love binge watching shows. For okay, so I actually have some show suggestions. Okay, so right now I'm watching the new season of Squid Game. It's really good. It's really good so far. Over the summer, me and my friend, we decided like, okay, every week or like we're gonna try to every week to watch a new show. So we discovered this show on Netflix. It's called Eric, and I think it's like a limited series, and it's really good. It was really interesting, and it had a plot twist. I did not think the show was gonna be like that. Um, I also watch a lot of anime. I am a big anime fan. And I like cartoons as well. But shows or movies, I'm always a show person. I don't even remember the last time I've been to the movies.
I'm definitely more of a I like shows, but like I have my like set shows that I like to watch over and over and over, and like I'm really picky about starting new shows. I watch a ton of movies though. Yeah, I don't
Really?
know.
Yeah.
Like my wife, she loves shows. She likes watching, she's always on Netflix watching new series, and I have a hard time getting into some of them. Sometimes I'm like not interested till like halfway through the season. I'll be like, all right, this is okay now. Like she's big into Outer Banks. I had no interest in watching it. And now she's watching the new stuff, and I'm like, okay, this isn't bad, but I don't think I could have watched it from the start.
Yeah. Like I'm very big on binge watching too. Like I think probably about a year ago, I stayed up over winter break and I binge watched anime. And it was like 6 seasons. I just stayed up and I finished it in like 3 weeks. So
That
I love shows. It's like for me, like with movies, it's kind of hard for me to like get into them. Like if it isn't something like off the bat, like, oh, interesting, I'm gonna be like, no, I'm turning this off. But with a show, it's like I know there's gonna be a build up. I know something is gonna happen. And even if it's like 6 seasons, I'll still watch it.
My show suggestions always Game of Thrones for like anyone who hasn't seen it. That's always my like
Really?
have to watch it.
I actually just started that probably about last week. I think I'm on
Yeah.
the episode 3.
Yeah, it's good. It's long. It's like 8 season. There's like 76 episodes. They're all, 45 minutes to an hour long. So it's a my friend introduced it to me a couple summers ago, and I mean, we were living together working that summer, and he was like, "You got to watch this show. You got to watch it." And I got sucked into it. I would be binging like 6 episodes in a Saturday. That's all I did on Saturday. Would just watch Game of Thrones, and I'm like obsessed. I've seen it. I think like 4 times, 3 or 4 times now. I've seen the whole show. I mean, it's great.
Really? Okay, so I'm gonna have to definitely get more into that because if you watch it that many times, it must be really good.
I didn't think it was like gonna. I mean, I heard people talking about it. I was like, well, whatever. How good can it be? And people are like, oh, it's one of the greatest shows ever. Yeah,
I hear
okay.
that a lot too. Or like I
And
heard that a lot when it was on like TV and stuff and it would like come out like a lot. They're like, oh, like I'm binge watching Game of Thrones or like, I'm having a Game of Thrones watch party. I'm just like, what?
yeah, it is that good though. It is. The characters are great. There's so many. There's a lot of plot twists. You want to talk about plot twists and like characters dying and stuff like, whew.
Oh, I love me a good plot twist. So that's after I finish Squid Game, I think I'm gonna go back to Game of Thrones and get
There
more
you
into
go.
that.
There you go. Awesome. I appreciate you hopping on the podcast. It was a good chat.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I had such a wonderful time.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.